Hi guys, it's Jessica. Welcome and welcome back to the Not Carrie Bradshaw YouTube channel. In this video, I'm yapping about reviewing, recapping, discussing season 3 of the Gilded Age, episode 7, the penultimate episode of this season. We have been renewed for another season. I hope we don't have to wait 15 years for it. This episode gave us a lot to think about, to discuss, to see, to experience. So let's get right into it. Mr. McAllister pulled a Truman Capote, where in real life, Truman Capote was like the gay accessory to these high society women in New York, and he wrote a book exposing all of their business, and it became this huge thing in real life. I love that they wrote this into this series. I wonder if there was a Truman Capote that predated Truman Capote, but anyway, Mr. McAllister has been, he's had a seat at the table for all of the high society gossip. He's been a friend to all the high society ladies. And he basically collected their stories and put them on blast. Like, this is the equivalent of him starting a shade room. Or this is the equivalent of All Girl from Salt Lake City, Housewives of Salt Lake City, running a blog about the Housewives of Salt Lake City and still being a part of the show. You know, people are messy and have been messy for a long time. What's unreasonable is that he expected to still have a seat at the table after betraying these women's trust. Now, are these women vapid, mean girls who are unkind and elitist? Absolutely, but they were his friends. Like, these women perceived him as a friend, a gossip, but a friend. Like, Mrs. Fish is a gossip, but she's also somewhat of a friend. So there's this betrayal there, and they want him excommunicated. He cannot come to the ball. He can't come to any of the things. He can't even go have a little lunch, a little nosh with the girls because he's being excommunicated. Like, we can no longer trust you. And it looks like when he goes to confront Mrs. Astor about whatever this unfinished business is, baby, I want to know what the unfinished business is. She looks genuinely hurt, especially by him bringing up her most like vulnerable information about her husband not really wanting her. And it's like, this is a sign of whether or not someone is a true friend. If you get upset with me, are you gonna throw my vulnerabilities up in my face? Because it kind of feels to me like there are people who I will probably never speak to again in life, but whose secrets I still will take to my grave because, like, I don't delight in anybody's downfall. And if you trusted me with that at one point in life, I'm not going to allow your behavior to make me an untrustworthy person. So I hate that he sprayed her with her own tea like that, but I want to know what the unfinished business is. I also like that they were going back and forth about like who's in charge of the girls. Like, no, I made up these rules. No, I made up these rules. Okay, well, y'all making everybody miserable and these rules need to change. So what of it now? John Adams left Oscar Van Ryn a house. This storyline makes me incredibly sad and incredibly angry because in real life, there are people who are still like closeted, and when they pass on, the people who matter to them the most don't get to partake in grief openly the way everyone else does. And like, death is one of a few certainties in life, and to take that away from somebody, I feel is very inhumane. I love that John Adams' sister, you know, held his secret and made sure that his wishes were executed according to what she knew to be the desires of his heart. So there's this house left and there's a picture left, and Oscar is destroyed by this loss in his life, and he can't grieve openly. And one of the worst things is like when you're just trying to keep it together and somebody asks you what's wrong, babe, I'm gonna lose it. I know that that's not even reasonable because you might think that you're putting on a very brave face and that the mask is working, but people who really know you know that something is wrong. Let me be trying to hold some shit in and somebody is like, are you okay? I'm gonna lose my shit because no, and I'm failing at hiding it. So Oscar has this complete breakdown, and it's the huge elephant in the room. It's, you're reacting a bit much for this to just be like a friend, like your homeboy. There's something more here. And you can tell that Agnes is maybe piecing things together, but she can't bring herself to say it, let alone to, she can't bring herself to accept it, let alone to say it. And it seems like Oscar was about to say, like, this man was my lover. You know, I should have been on the front row grieving with everyone else. And Marion and Aunt Ada kind of collect him and stop him from saying too much, because there's no telling what would happen if he admitted, even within that household, that what's been written about him in this book is true. So I appreciate that Marion went and held space for him and let him know that, like, hey, I don't understand what y'all be doing, but, like, I don't look at you no differently. So, you know, you still my family and I'm still here to support you. And I appreciate that that was at least enough for him in that moment to just be able to grieve like a normal person. And not like some shameful hidden whatever, like to be able to grieve like anyone else over this great love in his life, which is like what he deserved and should have been allowed to do. And I hate that in real life there are people who have to endure that. So, yeah, as an aside, have y'all peeped how Bannister be responding to people's shade, like off in the corner? Because the way they was going back and forth about Mrs. Fish's husband being cheap when it comes to wine, and Agnes being like, well, girl, she wasn't lying. It was just very cute. And Mrs. Fish actively trying to throw shade and Mrs. Astor about what she got going on. And it's like, baby, this is neither the time nor the place. And Bannister was just over there looking like, ooh, the girls are fighting. I love when they just give me those quick little shots of Bannister and his little smirks and side eyes. Gladys is learning to wife. Gladys is learning to assert herself in her home. I'm very happy to see it. I also want to just thank the writers and the creators and everyone for personally reassuring me that Gladys and her bangs are in a loving and supportive marriage. Because y'all know I had my doubts about the Duke. I felt like he was only in it for the money. And the fact that George had to write to say, like, y'all ain't get no money, and I don't know when y'all gonna get no money. The money might done ran out, okay? Because George is going through it. So I'm really happy that he's reassuring Gladys that even if no money comes, don't worry about it. Like, we'll figure it out together. And so I'm happy that she's not just across the pond in a miserable marriage. I'm also happy that they got Lady Sarah the up out of here. They said, baby, we'll send you your things. You can go. You go have fun in London and find your own way in the world. I absolutely, and I love that it was the Duke who sent her on her way and not Gladys, that Gladys didn't have to step in and do that. The mystery of the snitch has been solved. Again, they told homegirl, we can send you your stuff. Your stuff has already been packed. You can go. This has to be a huge blow to Bertha, because Larry is back from Morenci. He gets his letter that the engagement is being broken off. Marion won't see him. He's very upset about it. And he, you know, delivers this good news to his dad that, like, you know, we got a ram in the bush, you know. The mines do have copper. That's gonna be some money for us. So this is like a huge relief. But at the same time, Marion has called off this wedding, and Larry blames Bertha. George blames Bertha. Everything falls on Bertha. I don't know if this is fair necessarily, because we do earn our reputations sometimes in this life, right? But George isn't being reprimanded by anybody for being a cutthroat businessman. Not yet. Not yet. We ain't got there yet in the episode. But I can't help but feel that, like, yes, Bertha has manipulated some situations to get her way. She has not always been kind or considerate of what other people desire, absolutely. But I do also think that they're putting 10 on 2 when it comes to how they're treating her with these situations. It's not unreasonable for Larry to assume that she has something to do with the engagement being broken off. It's definitely some shit that she would do. It's definitely a stunt that she would pull. Like, let's be real. I don't love that George is being so unkind to her as he is confronting the loss of his business and the possible loss of this money. And we're happy that, you know, the copper mines have been found to be valuable, but it's a really bad sign of character that when things aren't going right for you, you are unkind to the closest person to you. And that's a very common thing, but it also sucks to see play out. Like, this is absolutely horrible to see. Like, this is your teammate and you are being so shitty towards her. Yes, she's made some mistakes, but does she deserve this kind of treatment? I don't know. So yeah, Bertha, so her daughter is across the pond. She done, you know, sent her on her way, set her up for success, but her son won't talk to her and her husband won't talk to her. They both done moved out. So she's also lost her closest advisor, in Andre. So my girl is like pretty much by herself. And that must be really isolating because she's finally getting what she has been vying for since the series started, right? Like, Mrs. Astor has decided that she's going to take a step down from hosting the end of the season ball, because there's just too much going on. And, you know, with the book, it would just be too much and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, girl, you also trying to cover for your daughter and her indiscretions. But okay, this is Bertha's time to shine. Bertha can really step up and lead the helm, be at the helm of high society, because now she has the opportunity to host this party. This is her moment in the sun, but she's going to be standing in it alone because her family is not fooling with her right now. And Gladys and her bangs ain't even there. So I do feel some empathy for Bertha in this moment. And I love that she's, you know, going to use this as an opportunity to create a space for divorced women. And I'm like, I wonder if that's because you scared you're about to be one too. So we'll see what happens. Marianne is tripping. Marianne is getting on my nerves, and this whole thing about a disorderly house. And it's like, don't make me defend a man, because this reaction kind of gives some credence to him not telling you the truth about where he was going. You are an extremely inexperienced person. You don't know very much about the world in this way. So I'm not a fan of lying to protect a woman's delicate sensibilities, but I also just feel like Marianne is tripping, but I also have a 2025 mind. But like, girl, shut up and calm down. You pissing everybody off. And I appreciate Aunt Ada, like, kind of letting her know. It's like, to some people, marriage is a prison, but then Ada is also like, baby, spinsterhood ain't what you think it is. This shit is hard. And I can tell you that, like, as a single woman, it is really difficult to navigate the world in this way. But I can also tell you, as a friend to a lot of married people, and a lot of married people who aren't necessarily happy to be married, I would choose being single over being partnered with the wrong person any day, 100 times over. But I appreciate that she's getting both perspectives, and there isn't really a middle ground during this time period. You are either a spinster or you are a married woman. Like, you are either divorced, or there's nobody who, like, women aren't allowed to just date casually. You're single or you're dead. But I mean, like, you're married or you're dead, basically. If you're not married, you're not a whole person in this society. And that's still kind of true today, but, you know, we're making some progress here. I appreciate that. I love that Marion went with Jack to look at his new home, because he has no idea where to begin to start to live this new life that he's been afforded by his invention. So I'm glad Marion accompanied him to go look at his new place. I'm also glad that Jack was like, bitch, calm down. It ain't that deep. Nothing like that even happened. Just, I'm gonna need for you to calm down and shut up. I mean, he didn't say it like that, but if he had, I would have been okay with it, because she's doing a lot. She pissing me off. George is making a real meal out of revealing to Clay and his new business partner that we got the money. We got more than enough of the money, and we got the money because you didn't do your job. I'm surprised that Clay really dropped the ball like that. Like, was Clay really not good at his job, or did he make an honest mistake? But I knew that George humiliating Clay in that way was going to come back to haunt him. I said, something, this isn't done, because this is too tied up with a bow. This isn't done. So I don't know who done put a hit out on George. Who put a hit out on him? Did he get shot? I'm going to watch the finale episode as soon as I get done recording this. So I will be right back to talk about the finale, I promise. before we get there, y'all, I completely forgot about Peggy's baby. I completely forgot about that whole storyline. The only thing that was at the forefront of my mind was the scandal with Mr. Fortune. I completely forgot that Peggy had this whole other secret, which shouldn't be a secret because it's just like not her fault like that. But of course, Mrs. Kirkland can wait her ass down there and tell her son, like, this woman is spoiled. She's damaged goods. You don't owe her anything. And I appreciate that he was like, girl, go to hell. I'm gonna go talk to my girlfriend and see what it's giving. You know, I appreciate that he sees our girl as a whole person and not just someone who is disposable to just be thrown away at the first sign of humanity. Like, she's a human person. Live it. It's hard to be human, okay? Give our girl a break. So I'm excited to see the finale, but I'm also kind of sad because how long are we gonna have to wait for season 4? But I'm excited. So come back to chat and yap and discuss and review and recap, or whatever you want to call it, the season 3 finale of The Gilded Age. Be sure to like and comment and subscribe and rate and review and share and join the Patreon and all of the things. Talk soon. Bye.